Hi YouTube friends and family, I'm Mary. Raymond is over there. I just wanted to come to you and give you a video in reference to why we chose Panther and as a carrier to run with, and Expeditor services, or ES you'll hear me call it, for our leasing option. Okay, first off, they're like two separate companies. They're not the same company. That's one thing that you would want to know right away, is that Panther, you can actually bring your own truck to Panther and run with Panther separate from ES. As far as if you're, I don't know the ins and outs of that because we went through ES, and we'll get into that later. So first, why did we choose Panther specifically? That's where our whole process started, was with Panther. Mainly because they have several different lanes to run. They have DOD, life science, etc. So there's different lanes to run under the expedited umbrella. So that was our number one reason that we chose Panther. The next reason is the more credentials you have, the more money you can make. So if you have hazmat, you make a little bit more. If you have your fast card and you're able to go into Canada, you'll make a little bit more. All of those kind of things. They do have a low experience threshold. You have to have at least a minimum of 6 months of experience. So being that I didn't have a whole lot of experience, that was something that we were looking for. Their base pay, I have my notes here. The base pay is literally the floor of the least you can make in your contracted amount is your base pay, but it's not a ceiling. We negotiate all our loads. So because we negotiate all our loads, we tend to make more than what our base pay is. And maybe in future videos, we'll get into how, or definitely in future videos, I'll get into how we've come up with our system to negotiate our loads. Another thing with Panther, we do not pay to rent our trailer. We do have a trailer assigned to us. It does change, it varies, because sometimes we drop and hook, so we'll get a different trailer. But we don't pay for renting any trailers. We do not pay for reefer fuel. They reimburse us all of our reefer fuel. Our loads, because we run life science, our loads tend to be needing to be temperature controlled, and so they give us an allowance basically for that load to run that reefer for however many hours we need to run the reefer for. So we do not pay for reefer fuel. We are reimbursed on tolls, and the only thing with that is that the tolls, sometimes they calculate the tolls. Well, they always calculate the tolls, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's the exact toll that we're paying. So we ran into a situation, we went into New York, and the toll was about $70 more than what they paid us for. And yeah, we had a little issue with that. And another thing, we are paid on our deadhead. So when we are deadheading to wherever, we are paid an amount for those deadhead miles. And in a future video, we'll get into, in our negotiating video, we will definitely get into some more about the deadhead. Certain lanes you run with Panther, you can actually have you can pay for a load board like Truck Stop or one of the free ones, and you can use that load board. We actually, when we were just plain expedited, we had the load board. There's some other things on that, and we will get into that when we talk about the pros and cons of Panther. There's no forced dispatch with Panther. You can actually deny, say you don't want to run a certain load. They do have performance criteria, truck performance criteria. So how many loads you reject actually comes into that. So that's something you keep in mind when you're rejecting loads. The process to get onboarded with Panther was really easy. It was pretty much no different than if you were a company driver with any other carrier. Was pretty much the same process. Nothing out of the ordinary when it came to that. So one thing I'm going to mention this in both the ES side and the Panther side is they have a fiduciary. Panther has a fiduciary responsibility to ES, and ES is who we lease our truck through to keep us running. So that's extremely important if you are a lease operator, because that's how you make your truck payment, is on the loads and things like that. And if you're not running and you're not able to make the truck payment, you have to make a truck payment. So Panther has a fiduciary responsibility to ES to keep us moving so we can make our truck payment every week. So that's why we went with Panther. Panther actually hooked us up with Expeditor services, because that's who they use when you're leasing on with them. Now, Expeditor services, it was straightforward as well. Once we were all cleared with Panther, we were given information with or contacts with Expeditor services. They speak to each other. So behind the scenes, they let them know we have this team coming aboard, or this person coming aboard, and they're ready to go. And then Expeditor services gets your information and they approve you. And that was a simple process. Our lease is not a walkaway lease. It's a 60-month term. At 50 months, we have the option to pay it off. There's no balloon payment. So whatever the remaining to pay it off. So at 50 months, we have the option to pay the remaining of our balance that is on our lease. And I mean, they call it a lease, but to me, it's like finance. So at the end of at 50, we can, 50 months, we can actually pay it off and be done. Take our truck, get our own authority, take it somewhere else, what have you, or continue to run with Panther. We also have the option to not pay it off and just do those extra 10 months, finish that up, and at the end, we own the truck. It's done, just like a car payment. We have our own liaison with ES, and that person for us is like a gauge. If we're not happy with something, or we have questions about something, we speak to our liaison. He will go, like if it's something like, let's say we don't feel like we're getting enough miles. So we'll talk to our liaison. He'll go back to Panther and say, hey, we need you to run these guys more. If we're feeling like we don't have, mainly it's like if we're not running, that would probably be the main complaint. If we hadn't a complaint at all, that would be something that we... So I wanted to finish my video. It's been a few days. I'm going to piece this together with the other portion, and which we were talking about, or I was talking about, why we chose to go with Panther and leasing through ES. As I stated, ES is a different company altogether. Panther's one company, ES is another company. Panther has a fiduciary responsibility to ES to keep us moving. So that was a pro, and a pro to going with this setup. Since Panther has the fiduciary responsibility, that means they're going to keep us running because they got to make sure that we are able to make our truck payment. So I already stated, like, we have a liaison, and that is a person that we have with ES that mainly we go to him when we have any kind of questions. We go to him if we feel like we're not getting any satisfaction, we're not running the way we want to run, and we are not getting any satisfaction with speaking to Panther and our dispatchers. So we go to him. He is able to look at all the data as far as how many miles we're running, what we're bringing home, and so on and so forth. And he's able to advocate on our behalf. Another thing that is great with ES is we get major fuel discounts. And when I tell you major, part of our trip planning is always making sure that we know where we're going to fuel and how much fuel is, since we pay for that. And our discounts with Expeditor services hands down beats other apps. So we have Mudflap, we have 10-4, and that's with Wex, and hands down it beats it. We normally fill up at a TA or Petro. They seem to usually have the best rate, but it's usually TA, Petros, Gloves, and those are the majors that everybody would know. Do we get discounts? We get some discounts at other places, right? Like some small mom and pops in certain areas, but not, Loves and TA are the major ones, and we get really good rates. So, for example, we just filled up in Amarillo, and that our app said that it would be what? How much was the app saying?
The app was saying, we did it in Amarillo, right?
Yeah, Amarillo was like $290.
No, it was $277 or something.
It was $277 listed on the app, yeah. But we always get about an 8 to 10 cent discount off of that. So, you can't beat it. We've definitely looked to make sure that we're getting the best fuel rate, and you can't beat it with. We haven't been able really to beat it with our discounts that we get with ES. We also are in permanent platinum status at the Loves, so we always have our free showers. Obviously, because we do fill up at TA and Petros, we do get points at TAs and Petros, so we always have points to take showers there. So we're that's a big plus because we like to keep ourselves clean. I know that's not a big deal for everybody else. So, for everyone, but for us, it's a big deal. So not having to spend, $17 to $20 for a shower is really good. We did have our choice of truck. Not a large selection, but we did have our choice of a used truck or a brand new truck. We opted for the brand new truck, mainly because even though the used truck was like a 2024, this is a 2025, and it didn't have a lot of miles. But the reason why we chose the brand new truck is the payment was literally about $20 to $30 difference per week, and it wasn't enough for us to, take a truck that was used. So we got a brand new truck. Yeah. So those are the major points that were the reasons that we decided to go to ES, go through Panther and lease through ES. Another thing that I don't think I mentioned is, which I may have, but we didn't have a down payment. And at the time that we decided to do this, we didn't really want to, usually it's like almost close to 20% you got to put down, and we just didn't want to do that. Financially, it would have taxed us, so we just decided to go this route. And it was to this date, since we got our truck in September, we've been running and we've never been in the red. So we've never had a week that we didn't get paid anything, or just got paid like, $100 or $200. We never had one week that way. We were able to pay all of our truck expenses and also come away with a paycheck. And that is a whole month, maybe more than it was, like maybe 6 weeks that I was off the truck, right? So I was off the truck for 6 weeks, and still with that, he was running by himself. He was able to pay the truck payment with what he was running, and still come home with money at the end of the day. So that is definitely. It was never no hundreds. It was always thousands. We've always come home with thousands of dollars every week. So even him running by himself. So that's a huge, that's huge when you're trying to make everything work, both on the road and off the road. So yeah, that's all for now. We will do another video that talks about the cons of ES and Panther. But overall, I will say that we are happy with our decision to go with Panther and lease through ES. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I lost my train of thought. I did have something to say, but that's okay. It was positive though. It wasn't that. Yeah, we will have, with every company there's pros and cons. So we will do another video on the cons, what we think we don't like. It's just our personal opinion, how they can make their business better. So that's not for anybody to make a judgment call as to whether they want to be here or not. Oh, I did wanted to say, there's no referral or nothing with Panther, but if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. We're not getting paid to give no information. You can't recommend us or our truck.
You can put our truck number.
Yeah, but we don't get no benefit off of that.
Right. So I will
give us a gift card for something.
maybe. So I will, in our video, we'll put our truck number. I'll put our truck number somewhere up here, so we're the Revis team and our truck number. So you can say, hey, they did a video and we wanted to see for ourselves what it's all about. Yeah, so that's all for now. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Again, if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments, or our email is always in our description if you wanted to send us an email. That's it for now. And peace and keep rolling.